The I-Team is on your side with live interactive coverage beginning soon. The I-Team is on your side right now.
All right. Hello, everybody out there. This is Dan Lamparello with the CBS 13 I-Team, and we're here in our new digital studio space, trying to get this a little bit more use, take your questions, and learn from you what you want to see us cover next. And I'm excited today to be joined by Jane Margison over at AARP Maine, one of our great partners out there in the community who's been talking to us over the past few months about scams and how to keep yourself safe, staying, on top of all of these crazy scams that are out there. Jane, thanks for joining us on this live discussion.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Dan. Thank you so much for covering these important topics too. We really appreciate it.
Jane, I feel like every time we have a conversation, there's a new scam that seems to pop up out there. What right now is AARP seeing when it comes to, as we head into the holiday season, some of the biggest things that people should be watching out for?
Well, you're absolutely right. As we head into the holiday season, there are certain scams that definitely increase. And one of those is the whole world of charity scams. This is the highest season for giving, which is wonderful. The thing is, though, we want to make sure that your hard-earned money that you want to give to a charity or to the cause that's closest to your heart is actually going where it should be and not into a scammer's pocket.
Do we find that most of those charities are trying to solicit donations online, or is it more over the phone? Where are people seeing these scammers try to contact them?
They'll contact you any way they think they can in order to, steal your hard-earned money. But we definitely see a lot of phone calls, absolutely online. They run a lot of ads. They'll do a lot that way. And then, of course, by email. There are a lot of phishing scams out there, too. And that can come actually with an extra scam attached to it, because if you click on a bogus website or a link that they're sending you, that can actually result in malware on your computer and a host of other troubles.
Why do we see these types of things start to ramp up during the holiday season, do you think?
Well, it's partly just because this is the time of giving. This is typically the end of the year when there just is a surge in giving, and scammers know that, and they take full advantage. They're very good at spotting the trends of what the public tend to do. For example, if there's a natural disaster or, a crisis somewhere, and there's a big boost in charities and giving to that cause, scammers, all of a sudden you'll see a huge surge in bogus sites and bogus charities pretending that they're giving money to that particular cause. But in fact, they're just pocketing everything that you're giving, and your money is absolutely not going to the right place.
Is there a lot of money lost every year when it comes to these types of scams?
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, yes, it's billions of dollars that just goes completely astray. And it really is a shame, because people are very generous and they want to give, and that's wonderful. But, you just have to be careful. Know who you're giving to. If somebody calls you out of the blue, this is a big red flag. Legitimate charities will be glad to have your donation whenever it is that you choose to give it. If there is somebody who calls you saying they're from a charity and they're putting pressure on you to send them something immediately, that's a big red flag, because you should not feel under any pressure to give a donation and feel that you have to do it in a big hurry. That's one of the scammers' biggest tactics to get you to act fast.
I feel like we hear that a lot. We talked last month about a different type of scam, but the people who are pressuring you, they're using those scare tactics. Like when we talked about Social Security scams, they're trying to get you off guard so that you give up that personal information.
That's exactly right. Because if you're doing something in a hurry, you're less likely to be thinking that it might be a scam. And by the time you've given away your money, it's likely just too late. It's very hard to get that money back once you've given it away. And another thing is, how are these so called charities asking for your donation? Is it some strange thing like a gift card or even cryptocurrency or a wire transfer? Scammers love all of these types of ways to accept payment because they're hard to trace and it's very difficult to get your money back once it's gone. So if somebody's at all talking about gift cards or cryptocurrency or anything like that, that is for sure a scam. And I strongly urge you to just disconnect from that conversation.
Huge red flag, that's for sure. Before we move on from holiday scams, I just want to bring in the AARP website here because this is a huge resource for people when it comes to not only tracking a lot of these scams, but also reporting them. Jane, what can people do on your website here?
Oh, there's so much, Dan. It's a wonderful website. We have over 80 briefs about different scams that are just easy to even just print about a particular scam, how to spot the red flags, the do's and the don'ts. We have a scam tracking map so that you can actually take a look at in real time the scams that are being reported in your state or even in your community. Is all about sharing this information. And everything that the AARP Fraud Watch Network has to offer is available of course, it's for free, but it's available to anyone of any age, whether or not you're an AARP member. And one of the things that I like best that we have to offer is we have a free toll-free helpline. If you have been a victim of a scam or you have questions or you're calling for a loved one who you think may have been scammed or you just need to, ask a few questions, please call our toll-free number. It's 1-877-908-3360. And there are highly trained volunteers who will help you, whether you really have been scammed and you need immediate assistance with that, or you're just trying to get some information.
A lot of free resources out there, which is great. Because I am shocked by the number on here that 34,000, almost 35,000 active scams are being reported out there. It's just a huge number.
Oh, it is. They're relentless, they're creative, and they truly are just I mean, it's we were mentioning earlier, Dan, I mean, it just feels like every time you think, one scam has died down, there are 10 more that pop up. And some of them, like the holiday scams, charity scams, veteran scams, some of them are sort of more seasonal, they tend to increase at certain times of the year. But really, these scams are alive and well year round. So the more we can be great fraud fighters instead of the next victim, that's where we're going to leave the scammers out in the cold.
Well, it's a good transition now to the other topic we were going to handle here, which is scams against veterans. And we just had Veterans Day, so obviously very timely here. And Maine has a very large veteran population. So what should these people be watching out for? You mentioned off camera that it has to do with trying to, manipulate people's trust almost.
Well, it is. And I just think this is one of the most despicable group of scams out there. I mean, we're talking about, men and women who have served their country and done so much. And for scammers to then turn around and try to steal from them is just abhorrent. But what the scammers, of course, are after are money first and foremost, and then personal information, because they love to steal your identity, to use your personal information for other ill-gotten gains. So in the case of veterans, very often we'll find that scammers will turn into impersonators and they'll actually pretend to be veterans themselves in order to perpetrate these scams. Why is that important? Because it's what we call affinity fraud. If there's a fellow veteran or you think is a fellow veteran on the line talking about new benefits or new ways that you could have a better time with your benefits package, you're much more likely to trust them. There just is an inherent trust there. That's why it's affinity fraud. But that's the thing. Just be very careful. If you are a veteran, first of all, thank you for your service. And please be very careful. If somebody is calling you, writing to you, emailing you, anything like that, and saying things like you need to pay for your your military records, that is absolutely a scam. Those records are provided to you by the VA for free. If they're saying that there are new benefits available that you can have, but only if you share personal information, your social security number, all those pieces of the puzzle that will help a scammer steal your identity. You need to shut that conversation down and check with the VA. If you're eligible for new benefits, that would be great, but let's make sure that you really are and that you're getting them from the correct source.
We've seen a few comments trickling in here on Facebook. Just want to remind those of you guys who are watching, feel free to just comment either on Twitter or Facebook, wherever you are. If you have questions for Jane and the AARP on this, make sure you post them in there. We'll try to get them answered for you. But Jane, you mentioned these scammers are really just trying to take advantage of vulnerable people. And unfortunately, a lot of the times it just catches people off guard.
Yes, the element of surprise, and that's why that trick that they have of trying to make you act quickly it works very well for them. Because if you're acting quickly and they've just called you on the phone and they're alarming you into thinking that your benefits are being cut, or you're about to lose something, or time is running out for something, all those things that make you kind of your heart skip a beat, that's all part of the ruse. And they call it getting you under the ether. They want you in this very dangerous place where they are completely manipulating the conversation. You're not necessarily thinking, is this really a scam? Is this really true? You're just reacting to what they're saying. And that's a very dangerous place to be. So again, there's always an opportunity to stop and verify. There's no reason for you to make a decision about military benefits or anything like that in a hurry. If you really are eligible for something, or there is a problem with something at the VA, you sort it out with the VA, and you can take your time to do that.
This may be an off-the-cuff question, but one of our Facebook commenters had mentioned about the calls and video ads that they've been seeing about Camp Lejeune, related to the tar pits and all of that there. Obviously, those are, attorneys and such that are holding their own class action type suits in response to the legislation that was recently passed by Congress. But can those types of things, when we see those in the media, create more opportunity for scammers to latch onto, Jane?
Absolutely, it can, Dan. Unfortunately, they're very good at finding a current, crisis or concern that maybe one particular segment of the population is having, or maybe we're all talking about, something like a war or a natural disaster or something like that, and they take full advantage. They will create fake charities to try to help, so-called. They will create all sorts of mechanisms, anything that will keep you on the phone or in an email conversation thinking that you're helping somebody out through their bogus charity, or that you're going to recognize some funds from a lawsuit in the case that you just mentioned. It's all designed to just trick you into doing what they want.
And they want to do it as quickly as they can.
They certainly do.
Well, Jane, before we log off, I just want to make sure we show the website one more time, because I've used this in my reporting. You and I have talked about it multiple times, and I just want to make sure our viewers know that the Fraud Watch Network on AARP's website is a great resource, not only to look up if something that's happening to you is a possible scam, or just to report something yourself. You can see the map on here. There's a lot even up in New England, it seems like. So this is a huge resource for people.
Well, it is, and we're so happy to provide it, and won't cost you anything to access these resources and to call our helpline. We gave out the toll-free number earlier, 1-877-908-3360. No question is stupid. Nobody is going to judge you if you feel like, I feel so silly. I feel like I got scammed. We are all vulnerable to these scammers. They're very good at what they do, but we can help you with the tools that we provide so that you can be a great fraud fighter and not the next victim.
Well, Jane, I so appreciate you taking the time to talk with myself and our viewers here. Important information as we head into the holiday season, of course, and I'm sure we'll find time to do this again as more scams, unfortunately, seem to keep coming up.
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you again for raising awareness about this important topic. It's great that you're doing this.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much. And thanks for all of our viewers out there. We'll see you tonight on CBS 13 News at 5.